Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of The Interview, brought to you by Will Alexander's Dog Show Tips and ProPlan, nutrition that performs. This week's special guest is none other than Springer royalty herself, Kellie Fitzgerald.
Hi, everybody. Today we are here with Kellie Fitzgerald, Springer royalty. How are you, Kel?
I'm doing great, Will. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You and Chris are coping with this crazy time.
Yeah, as best as we can. Trying to keep busy. Different, new norm. So it's definitely different, but we're plugging along.
Oh, for sure. People are this is good for what we're doing now because people like to look at this as a distraction. They get to find out about people they don't really know that much about. So I'm going to start right now. Tell me how you got involved in dogs, Kel.
Well, actually, as a junior handler, prior to being a junior handler, I started going to obedience school with my very first purebred dog, which was a Sheltie. Oh, yeah. And I went to the Showman Dog Obedience Training School. It's a beginner's class, and then moved from there into trying to do a little more serious obedience work. And fast forward a little bit and started going to obedience trials with a group of people from the obedience club. Traveling weekends. I have 2 trips to Canada a year, and but it was just the same group of people. It was really fun. That was my first really kind of experience out and about and being in hotels and all that kind of thing. And it introduced me to the sport of dogs from the obedience level.
How old were you then?
About 15.
15. Did your parents have dogs?
No, not at all. No, we tried to bring some strays home, and I think they finally decided maybe we should get like a real dog so they won't keep bringing strays home because we just love dogs. And no, neither one of my parents were involved with dogs at all. My mother was the one that helped encourage going out to shows or going out to the obedience club and meeting people like that. I'm very grateful to her because without her it would never happen.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when did they all breed? The confirmation start happening?
Well, actually, there were a couple of people in our obedience club that had flat-coated retrievers, the Belknaps, and I got my feet wet a little bit there. Can let me show their dog a couple of times, and I thought that was kind of fun, difference from obedience. So I thought that was kind of neat. And but officially, I would have to say when I went to work for Karen Prickett Miller, when I was still in high school.
How old were you?
I was a junior when I first went to work for her. I went to work for her for 2 years. But probably toward maybe more closer to my senior year, I guess. I'm trying to remember. But Kathy Prickett was still working for her at the time. So I worked for a year for Karen while Kathy was still there. And then I graduated in 81. And then I stayed a little while longer after that. And from there, I started working part-time at Sally Lynn for Mrs. Gasso because Barbara Gates had just left. And I was still working for Karen on the weekends at shows, but I was introduced to go to the kennel and do some grooming, some dogs. I had never really picked up a clipper before I went to work for Karen, actually. And so I got to practice a little bit on some of her kennel dogs. And learn about like how to basically use a clipper. And she was a fabulous trimmer, a fabulous presenter of dogs. Make a picture out of a dog, make an outline out of a dog. And I owe a great deal to Karen for everything I learned from her. And then progressed to Julie's part-time, and then Karen stopped handling dogs for other people, so I went to work at Sally Lynn full-time in 81, mid to late 81, which is the year I graduated. I said graduated high school.
Wow. So you worked full-time for Sally Lynn. That's amazing. That's
yeah.
Itself.
Right.
So you're
18 years.
Sorry, go ahead.
18 years I worked there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, until Julie passed away in 99.
So would you consider Julia as your biggest influence in dogs then?
Yes, I would have to say yes overall. I mean, there's certainly people that I have a great debt of gratitude to for teaching me along the way, but for sure as a mentor, not only in dogs, but in many other things. You know, she was a smart, funny, just loved woman. And to kind of sit back and watch her the way she was, not just with dogs, but with people. And just you know, I can't even put into words the kind of, you know, person she really was, other than I know a lot of people that know her, but she was a great lady, truly a great lady.
Amazing. What other mentors did you have then, Cal?
Geez. Just, I came from that era, which I'm sure maybe you did as well, that, you know, I'd be at a dog show and I wanted to suck up as much knowledge as I could. I wanted to be around the dogs that impressed me. So I would go ringside and sit and watch various other handlers. Not necessarily a sporting breed, because I came, you know, I had a Sheltie, and then I went from a Sheltie to a Belgian Tavern. So there wasn't yeah. And there were another obedience breed, because my instructor at the time at the Showman was a gal by the name of Karen Johnson, who's still in dogs. And she had this beautiful Tavern. And so we got involved with that, yet another obedience dog. So I never had any experience with, you know, the confirmation ring. So when I did get to a confirmation show, I'd love to just go ringside and watch and, you know, kind of bug people. Can I help? Can I hold? Can I, you know, I want to just be a part of watching a dog be prepared, or watching a dog in the ring, watching a handler present that dog. And, you know, back in the day, I mean, you didn't care whether you want to help somebody out, whether you're getting paid or not. You just wanted to go and be part of it. And it was kind of, then I felt my passion of it kind of start. And I'm just trying to think of some people who probably influenced me a lot. And I'm just at the point kind of blank at the moment. Because when I worked for Julie for so long, it was, you know, it was various people that came into her, that she was close with, that I thought so much of. And not necessarily as always handlers, but breeders. Ed Jenner, who I just thought hung the moon. He was the kindest, nicest, sweetest man, Luke Ballou. Julie had a great love for Pekingese. So, of course, one of my very closest friends and one of the people I admire the most is David Fitzpatrick. Just not for his handling ability, his obviously a top breeder, but very knowledgeable dog person. I mean, not just in Pekingese. I mean, so just to sit around and listen to David or watch David, you know, do what he does. So people like that. Just over the years, I've had so many wonderful friends, and I would consider mentors as well.
So what's your favorite breed then, if you started off in herding dogs?
I would have to say a Springer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that was just not into. But Karen, when I worked for Karen, you know, that was her breed. She had Lou John English Springer Spaniels, and so she was a breeder as well, not just a handler. But so her breed was Springer. So I got in to know the breed closely working for Karen, and it just kind of built into, you know, working for Julie, and not just at dog shows, because I spent probably more time at the kennel, at her home kennel, breeding. And, you know, people would send their bitches to Julie's stud dogs to be bred. So that was my job, to go to the airport, pick them up and do a breeding, which I had never done before. You know, whelping puppies all hours of the night, all, you know, for a very, very long time. It was just, it was just such a new experience. Seemed like everything I was doing when I came to working there was a new experience. And like I said, along the way, met so many wonderful, wonderful people.
Amazing education being there would have been. My God.
Yeah, yeah. And Dr. Gasso too. It wasn't just Julie. And, you know, right down the road, like a mile and a half down the road, was Eric and Jane Bergeshagen. Jane is still there at the kennel. But Eric was president of the Detroit Kennel Club, and prior to that, Julie. So I did have experience, get some experience in being in an all-breed club for many years because of Julie and Eric in the Detroit Kennel Club. And I have to say that I'm so grateful for that as well, because when you're behind the scenes and putting it on a dog show, and you don't really realize what goes into putting on a dog show, it makes you, when you go to a dog show, say, well, you know what, I can't get that power when I want it, and I want this and I want that. Why isn't this? Why isn't that? And you really begin to appreciate the hard work that goes into putting on a dog show from the club members, you know, everything. and so that's an education there in itself too. Having Eric and Jane like right down the road, seeing them all the time. They had a kennel full of Labradors, and knew Dr. Gasso's veterinary hospital was right down the road. So that was also, I wasn't part of that, but I would go in there ever so often, and with a dog, and with time to do puppy tails. So I would be assisting Dr. Gasso when he would do the puppy tails, and he had lots of good stories, and I have so many fond memories that actually, when I start talking about it, it kind of floods my head with a bunch of all different, through the stage of my life when I graduated high school, all through all those early years of when you're that young, and all the experiences, and yeah, it was truly amazing. Amazing.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. So your favorite breed is Springer. Who would be your favorite dog?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be a dog you showed. Let's say, who's your favorite dog that you didn't show?
Oh gosh. Oh boy.
Then you can come back and tell me who your favorite dog is.
I tell you, one of the dogs that sticks out in my mind is Mick, the Kerry. I just think that dog was just, when you saw that dog, he gave you goosebumps. And he and Bill together were incredible. I have a great amount of respect and admiration and love for Bill on many different breeds. But when I saw that dog, like a lot of people, it just, sent shivers up your spine, and watching that dog perform and that bond. I always love to see a bond between a handler and a dog, because I think it can be very mechanical, very robotic with some people. And I think when you have a bond with a dog, and it doesn't mean they have to be, perfect with that, he let that dog be that dog. And on so many occasions, I was never disappointed, not that say I'm a terrier person, but you didn't have to be to appreciate what a great dog that was.
Did you know that Bill's favorite breed is Springers?
We've had that conversation actually just recently at the garden.
It shocked
Yes.
me when he told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that I don't know if he's still showing a Springer, but I know that he's had a couple, and he's one of those kind of people that, dogs just love and gravitate to, and has just a talent along with his wife, Taffy, who I think also, she's just absolutely incredible. But I would have to say, I think if I have to pick a dog for myself that was my favorite dog personally, I would have to say Samantha. She just from what she came, her background and what she represented. Julie didn't get to see her win Westminster, but because Julie passed in April of '99, and we were still showing Samantha that year, her second year. But she was such a great ambassador for the breed, I think back and I look at all the old pictures when I asked to send pictures for a magazine or for an article. I started going through the files and files of pictures and bringing back all those memories, all the places I would go. And I didn't fly much. I flew maybe a half dozen times, but I drove a lot, and I was still living in Michigan at the time. So the level of the people that even met Samantha, you didn't have to be necessarily your biggest fan, but they would know Samantha and meet Samantha, and she would be very well received, especially at breed people, which I think means a lot. And James, I can't say that James did not represent as well.
Yeah. What year did James win the Garden?
Pardon me?
What year did James win?
2007. Samantha won in 2000.
They all just meld together.
Well, it's funny because I didn't realize it at the time. Another client brought it up to me when Robert won. It was '93. 7 years later, Samantha won, and then 7 years later, James won. Yeah, then being Samantha was a Robert daughter. I think that was made history by the only time a dog that won the Garden produced a dog that won the Garden.
That is amazing.
A daughter.
Amazing.
Daughter, father-daughter. Yeah.
Enjoyed watching all three of them. So, what's your favorite win then, Kel?
Well, that's another. The Westminster ones obviously stand out because it's Westminster, and everybody strives to want to do well there. And I never had any big fancy ideas about going best in show, certainly, but on both occasions were two dogs that I was heavily campaigning. And that was to be their last show, which a lot of people make their dog, it's their last show to retire. And in both instances, winning the group, were judged by two people who I, yet again, Mike Billings when Samantha won, and the other year was, the other time was Jeanette McGinnis, who just, I say her name and just gives me goosebumps too, because I just love her and Ray. So winning the group on both of those occasions was like the goal. I mean, of course, you're always very nervous to get out of the breed in both years as well, because you have that pressure and anything can happen, especially at the breed level. So many top dogs never got past that point. So,
Sure.
Nobody's immune to that. And I was lucky enough to, get past the breed and then in the group. And they both were very, very, very competitive groups, and against dogs that you had been shown against the previous year. So when I won the group, it was like, oh, could breathe. And it was like, wow. And it was thrilling. And those judges, and so exciting. And then to go in for best in show was like icing on the cake. Last time anybody will ever see my dog at that, and at the Garden, no less. And on both occasions when I won, I was very, very stunned, shocked, and thrilled, and all that kind of stuff. And I have to say too, the win under at the AKC show under Bob Forsyth was incredible. Just like I said, when you win under certain people, and it's a big show, and Bob, he was just take him down the back, take him around, went over. It was no frill, no whatever. He was a great dog man. He knew what he was going to boom. And I was like, wow. I still remember just the surprise of it all and the thrill of it all. And, I miss those people in our sport a lot.
We all do. Can you think of the funniest thing that's ever happened to you in the ring, Kelly?
Oh, I've fallen plenty of times. Oh, geez. Isn't it strange how I can't think of anything?
It happens. You want to come back to it?
Sure. Give me that.
Tell me a skill or talent that you have that most people don't know you have it.
Well, I don't know if it's a skill or talent. I love to cook. It's very therapeutic for me, and I enjoy having people over, whether we're at the show in the motorhome or trailer or at home. I love to have people over. I have to have a party. Love to entertain. I do this pretty much around the clock. The care of the dogs and everything like that. I do have several clients that are into horses that I admire a lot of people that do that for a living. And I've always wanted to, but just never had the time. I've been so involved in the sport for so heavily for so long, there wasn't really a whole lot of room for anything else, even just the traveling. And as you know, when you're campaigning, that's what you really live and breathe for, almost 12 months out of the year. So yeah. Nothing necessarily, anything that stands out to me is that any hidden talent, really.
Well, cooking's a hidden talent. I didn't know you could cook, so.
Yes, I love to cook. I mean, now that Virginia Murray has started this wonderful thing about dog people can cook, I'm so impressed by the people that come up with these dishes, and I wanted to cook, but I could never put a plate together and make it look like anything like Jason Hope, everybody that I know that can cook and present the food. I'm just like, well, I know how, what I like and how to make it. I just don't think that it looks very pretty, maybe, when I'm done. But I do like that. I do really enjoy to do that.
You think about a funny event yet?
I know this sounds kind of funny, but kind of strange. It was in the ring at a summer show, and this stands out in my mind because of the judge that it involved. It was John Reeves Newsom, and who I think is so funny. I mean, he can just stand there and have put this grin on his face, and I crack up laughing. Yeah. But we were at a show in Pennsylvania, and we were in the English Cocker ring for a winner's class, and I had one, and Robin had one, and this other friend of mine who was also a client, Pamela Fever, had one, and we were all lined up along the fence, went in, and he's looking, and he comes to the front of the line. He's going to send everybody down and back. So he's standing behind them. So every handler got up, went down and back, came to the next person, down and back. Robin's down and back. I was next, down and back. And then my friend Pam she stands up and she's kind of cumbersome. She tries to stand up, get up off the ground. She stands up and she's gathering up her leaves. She kind of backs up a little bit, and she literally backed up right into him, if you know what I'm saying. And he stands there and he jumps back and said, "Ma'am, you're gonna have to buy me a drink before some." I can't remember the wording that he said, but something about it. She would have to buy him a drink first before any of that. I guess just the way that she did it. It was so, I don't think I've laughed this hard. I just basically fell over my dog. I mean, it was hilarious. "Ma'am, you have to buy me a drink first." I mean, and she, of course, then turned 10 shades of red. And it was just so funny. I just enjoy his sense of humor in the ring. And that just stands out to me as one of the funniest moments that I can recall. It didn't necessarily involve me, but
Yeah,
you always can depend. Every time you go in his ring, you can always, he looks so serious, but then he has that sparkle and that sense of humor that I adore.
Yeah, he's amazing. Really.
I have one more story I just remembered.
Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of which, I was at the Fort Wayne Dog Show, and I used to go to dog shows. When I get to the dog shows, I used to travel quite a lot with Doug Johnson. And at the time he was campaigning, I believe, a Sussex, maybe a Clumber, I don't remember, but we were at Fort Wayne, and we stayed at the same hotel. It was the Super 8 that was right kind of near the show. So they were doing some work on the parking lot. So we pulled our vans in where we thought we could park when we got back to the hotel, because everything was kind of roped off. Went in, went for the night. He was in the room next to me and whatever. So we get this call at like 1 a.m. that we have to move our vans because we're not parked where we were supposed to be. So of course, half asleep, whatever, he kind of throwing your clothes, whatever. I open the door and he comes out and he's going to move his van. So we walk out to the parking lot, and I wasn't very awake. So I get in my van and I go to back up, and I wasn't like, I didn't floor it or anything, but I went to back up, and all of a sudden I bang, and I look in my side room mirror, and of course, I think Doug still had his pajamas on, and here's Doug is standing flailing his arms like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And I looked, and I had really backed into a car, right bad, like right into the back of the parking lot. But all I can remember is seeing him in my side view mirror, jumping up and down and flailing like, "Get in the car, get in the car." And I get out and I look, and it was a pretty old junky car. But I got out, and he's like laughing as it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget. And he's yet another very good friend of mine with an actually fabulous sense of humor. Yeah. Very talented dog man, very talented breeder. Very, very good friend for many years that I adore. That's because he's just so funny and true and honest, and I love him.
Yeah, good stories, Kel. Which dog from the past do you wish you could have owned or shown?
Dog in the past would have owned or shown. That I'm going to have to think about. Can we come back to that?
Sure. What past dog show person do you miss the most?
I think I miss Julie a lot. I mean, just because of her influence in my life, and we were very, very close friends, and I, like I said, learned so much from her on so many different levels. But I probably miss her the most. Eric, who was a very, very dear friend, very much for many years. Miss him a lot. Good man, good guy. I miss a lot of people that I don't see anymore. Like when I mentioned Jeanette McGinnis, she was just one of those people that stood out to me as not as a really good dog person, but just as a class act, wonderful woman. Mike Billings as well. People like that we don't see often anymore. I mean, those kind of people that we don't see, not just because of their knowledge, but just kind of people that they were.
Their presence, we miss it all. We really do.
Yeah.
What do you think of the current judging, application-wise? How do you feel about that? We're missing a lot of talented people that won't judge because of it. What do you think of all that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not a good situation, and I don't know the answer for fixing it other than I just think back of an experience from last summer when I was at a show. I think with Luke. I was there visiting. I don't know if he was even showing because I was stopping over. Anyway, and Birgit Cody was there, and she was there doing some provisionals, and she didn't even have the whole terrier group. And I'm like, what do you mean she doesn't have a whole terrier group? And she was still having to go through, various different stages of, to get her license for this terrier breed and that terrier breed. And she walked over and I happened to be standing there. Gina Weiser was there and Luke and I were there and just struck up this conversation. And I just found myself just intrigued by just listening to her talk. I mean, it was about terriers, of course, and about dogs and about just covered a whole bunch of things in a very much short time. And I'm just like, why does someone with this amount of knowledge and talent, and I'm sure that you could probably count on both hands, but there are people that are like that. But I think that the stage of their life that they're in, and of course they have to make all these, and I understand they have to go through, to do the testing and do the whatever. But I mean, certainly there are people in this sport that don't really need to do all of that. They could be the teachers, they could be the mentors of these people, rather than them to have to go through all of that to get a license or to get approved. Why can't they be the people that are mentoring the up and coming judges, not just at the breed level, but I mean the entire sporting group. I mean, there are some people who don't want to judge, and I think that has a lot to do with it. They don't want to go through all of that. It's a huge expense from what I understand. The paperwork is quite lengthy. So, and I know the system that was, that happened a while back, kind of got people through quicker than they should have. And, and then some of the people that we have been showing to the last few years came through that system. And I walk away so many times just scratching my head. And there have been times that I wanted to say something, and I have, trying to not do it on the day of the show, or when you walk out of the ring to sound like it's sour grapes. But you want to feel that you don't want to question their decision, but you want to say, one time I just finally asked a gentleman at the shows in Pennsylvania the one time, because he was provisional, and he started to take offense. Well, I'm offended by that, because I tried to explain to him that I'm on the Judges Education Committee, and we're trying to get new illustrations together to try to teach people about our breed and certain things that are strong characteristics and blah, blah, blah. And he just, kind of stood back and was like all offended and just, well, I think you're insulting me. And I didn't come at him because I wasn't aggressive toward him to tell him because that's why I lost. I said, but it was almost like I had to stop talking because it was almost like a pointless conversation. I was trying to do something positive, and it seemed like he wasn't accepting it that way, and walked away, just kind of throwing my hands in the air. And I would love to be a judge. I mean, on the occasions that I've been asked to judge my breed in a sweepstakes, just recently our national sweeps, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I would love to, I've had a lot of experience in other breeds, English Cockers and English Setters and so on. And I would love to be able to, get involved in a lot of, in those breeds. I just don't know what the answer is to get this licensing.
I can tell you, Kelly, if Kellie Fitzgerald came up and wanted to talk to me about springers, I'd listen. So.
Well, that's nice to hear.
I wouldn't be offended in the least, trust me.
I miss those times though, when we would all sit around and have these discussions. I mean, it could be like during the show, after the show, in the evening, next day, or just sit around and sit in the grooming area. I mean, that's where I learned. When I was younger, I just sort of, like I said, like a big sponge. You want to absorb this kind of information or knowledge and have these discussions. And it doesn't seem like that's kind of the way the structure of the dog show is anymore. And whether it's, and part of it is the judging, you don't have your breeders that you had before. There's just a lot that's missing.
I agree. I enjoyed those times a lot as well. Let's go back to something. What dog from the past that you didn't own or show that you wish you could have owned or shown?
Well, yet again, Robert was a very favorite of mine, but I mean, I finished him, but I didn't campaign him.
I remember when you finished him.
Yeah, he was he was a wonderful, wonderful dog in his head. I think that's one of the reasons why he was a very, you know, close with Samantha as far as not only in quality, but as a dog in his head. He was such a cool dog. I've had some English setters that I really admired too. I loved Taffy's dog that she had at the garden. I loved, and I have this the big love for Pekingese. I really, I loved Malachi. I don't know if I could do all that you have to do to be a Pekingese handler, the way, you know, the art of what like David does, but certainly Malachi is a dog that I just thought was pretty awesome. You know, I'm just trying to think, because mainly sporting dogs really stick out in my head. I can't really think of anything right at the moment other than those dogs.
Any advice for young handlers, new handlers?
Well, I've always thought apprenticeship is very important. And I think that's another thing that is very much lacking and has been lacking in our sport, because I think there are young people who have been raised in dogs, like literally from infancy, that still have gone to work for other people. Some people have not. And I just think, and some people have a natural talent for it, which I think is important. But, you know, walking in the ring and running around and being able to show the dog is part of it, along with the care and conditioning and, you know, being able to, you know, have everything you need to well, if the dog were to be sick, you don't know what to do. So I would encourage young people to apprentice under other handlers for a length of time. You know, not 6 months, not a year. I mean, maybe those days are over, because I see a lot of young people that I don't necessarily know or haven't seen, or think, oh, that's that young lady or young man that worked for so-and-so. And all of a sudden now they're a handler. I'm like, how did that happen in a year? You know, but they take dogs to show, and whatever they charge, I'm unaware, but they take dogs to show, and they can do just as good a job and so on. And I just think that there's just an art of every facet of being a handler. It's not just the going in the ring and running around. It's the grooming. It's the presentation. I mean, I've gone to people when I've had a dog that with a top coat, like, oh, this is driving me crazy. I remember talking to Ernesto one time. I'm like, I got a couple of these waves. What do I do? You know, or I've had questions when I've shown English setters, breed that I've shown a lot of, and I'll talk to Eileen, like, oh, Eileen, you know, this is that. What? And a very good friend of mine, Carissa, said to me long time ago, not to me particularly, but she says, so-and-so's done learning. And I don't ever want to be done learning. And I think that if more people would have that attitude, and I'm talking about whether you're a handler or a judge or a breeder for that matter, there's always something to learn from a lot, you know, other people, other handlers, other breeders, other judges. And I think when you close yourself off to that, when you think you know everything, then you're kind of, I don't say you're done, but you really limit yourself. And I just wish the young people would just spend more time with the knowledgeable people who have been in it for years and who have worked for other people. They've worked for other people and they've built their business from their reputation. You know, reputation means a lot. You don't have to like the person. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, you know, want to go out and have dinner with that person, but you can respect a person. I think respect from your peers means a lot. And I think to be successful, you have to have the respect of your peers. And like I said, you don't have to be the most popular person, you know, at the dog show, you know, but if I always put my head down and done my job and just go to the ring and do my job. And a lot of people don't even know I'm at the show until I'm up at the ring, just because it's just kind of what I do. I'm a very serious person, a very particular person when it comes to my dogs and everything. So, you know, a lot of people can perceive that in the wrong way. That's okay. I mean, I have my close friends who know me well, and, you know, and that means more to me. I don't feel like I ever really have to explain myself. I try to keep myself on the level of doing the right thing, you know, being honest and loyal to my friends and my family, and also to my clients. And that's the one thing that Dr. Gasso always told me. He said, you treat everybody the same. He said, just because you're showing a champion for somebody and then you're showing a puppy for somebody, they're all equal. They should be all equal to you. The way that you handle yourself with that person, with that client, with that dog, the attention you give that particular animal should be the same. And if you treat everybody fairly, you can't turn around and say, well, you didn't do enough for me here or enough for me there, and just keep it the same right down the line. And then you'll walk away saying, I've done my job. So he was a big influence. He was a man of very few words, but when he had something to say, sort of like E.F. Hutton, when he talked, you'd like stop and listen. Really cool guy. So I've always tried to conduct myself in that manner. So.
One last question, Kellie. If you could speak to the 20-year-old Kellie Fitzgerald, anything you'd say to her right now?
Yeah, I think I would probably tell myself to stop and spend a little bit more time. Just, I mean, when you're that age, you want to go, you have goals, you've got this, you have to, you're building your business, you want to, you get that taste of that, the winning and being at the dog show and, bringing along the puppies and everything. But I'd probably stop and just be able to take more of my personal life in, because I didn't really do much of that. It was just always go, go, go. Dogs at home, at the kennel, meaning at Sally Lynn. And I spent a lot of time there. It wasn't just in the kennel, because I had a lot of responsibilities there. So it was a very literally full-time job for many years, and especially after Dr. Gasso passed away. So I didn't spend a lot of time for myself, just stepping back and maybe finding those things that I could have enjoyed, those hidden talents that I may not or may have had. I would just kind of step back and take life in a little bit more.
We all would, I think, even just patience.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Kellie. I really appreciate you spending some time with us. It was great seeing you. Everybody's good there. Chris is good.
Yeah, everything's good. Like I said, I wish I had some better answers for you today. Sometimes I feel a little sleep deprived because of this litter of puppies.
You did great.
And they're having to be supplemented often. So I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep. So I hit a certain time of the day and I kind of feel like I'm in a zone. So I'll probably think of things after this is over and think, why didn't I say that? But
well, we can do it again sometime then.
Okay. I enjoyed
it here. All right, Kel, thank you. And I will catch up to you and Chris at some point.
Okay, well, I hope so. You have a good rest of the day, and thanks for including me.
Okay, Kel, you take care.
Hey, bye-bye.
Thank you, Kellie, for inviting us into your home. It was a very enjoyable interview. If you like what we're doing here at Will Alexander's Dog Show Tips, don't forget to press like, share, and subscribe, and the little notification bell, too. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at dogshowtips@gmail.com. And you want to follow us along, you can find us at willalexander.net. Thanks again. Take care now.